guys, welcome back to the next video, and in this video we will talk about some of the armament horns and what to keep, what not to keep in different situations. I did cover this topic just a little bit in my previous video, but based on the questions that I got in the messages, I feel like there's still some confusion, and maybe it'll help if we cover which horns to keep for on what hero in which situation. That might be more clear and helpful. So let's dive right into it. First of all, I would like to introduce some terms that I'm going to be using in the video so everybody knows what those are. First will be original stat, second will be solid buffs, third will be stat buffs from heroes, fourth will be armament buffs. Right? So first of all, let's talk about solid buffs. So you can click on your headquarters, click on buffs, and you can see all the military buffs like for rider, range, infantry, attack, defense, HP, all of them. And what is included in these is, so first of all, your buildings, whatever you have in shelter, then your alliance technology, your own technology, your equipment and parts, any skins that you have, your vehicles that you have, your workshop devices, your VIP level, and your alliances villages that they hold. So based on that you get these buffs, and these are solid buffs and they will get calculated right away. And to see that, just click on any of your barracks. In training, you'll see any of the troop type that you have selected. You can just click on this exclamation and you can see that the original buff, this is the white one, is original buff, and anything that is added to it is your solid buff multiplied by your original stat. Next to that are not included there, which will get calculated when you make your squad, are your buff from your heroes. For example, if we just click on this one, HP buff 30%, defense 10%. So these are just straightforward stat buffs that will be added when you make a squad. Same thing, anything that comes from your talent build will get added right away when you make your squad. And your armament, anything from there. Now before we move forward, first of all let's talk about what are different kind of horns that you can keep for different situations, and if later on we'll talk about why certain of those horns affect in those situations, and lastly we will talk about how much of the horns you should keep, like how does it actually come into play in battle. So first of all, we talk about field fight. It's pretty straightforward. Any attack, defense, lethality block based on your fighting style, you can keep those. And how much of it, we'll discuss that later in the video. Squad travel speed is obviously good in that situation. What you can avoid and should avoid for field fight is any task specific horns, for example rally or garrison. If you don't launch rally or don't lead garrison in your alliance, you don't need those horns. We already discussed that in the previous video. So those horns will pretty much be useless in that situation. You can see horn attributes here, all of them. Next would be for garrison. Now for garrison you can focus on defense, block, and say squad attack, and try to be as, you can say, not troop specific as possible, because somebody will push something in the garrison that is not a particular troop type. So you can have these particular buffs affecting your entire squad in the garrison. So those will help. And counter attack, skill damage, I put skill damage in the last because mostly you will get hit by Julia and she will silence your skill damage. So having counter attack and other kind of attack will help you more than skill damage. And one thing to note over here, between basic attack and counter attack, because for garrison you can have both, I would recommend you keep counter attack compared to basic attack. I'll tell you why I say that later in the video, but just to keep that on a note. Next we can talk about rallies. In rallies we can just flip the scenario. Since you're attacking garrison, Having more skill damage would help you. Squad attack, more troop specific, since you can control that in your rally, that will help you. And basic attack damage, squad block and defense, all that will be good. And I did put skill damage on top of the list because I don't see anyone using Julia or Chun as garrison leads, and those are the only two heroes that we know yet who provide silence on skill damage. So that's there. Now you can add a note over here for rallies where counterattack is not as much preferred as basic attack. Again, the reasoning is coming up. One hone that you can avoid for both garrison and rally specific armaments are squad travel speed. It won't help you. So now on the topic of what won't help you, what are the hones that are absolutely useless? Those are your gathering hones, zombie hones, and squad load. Really useless. If you have them, you can definitely should replace it. And on that topic, it is recommended that you dismantle all your gathering or zombie armaments. I did discuss the reasoning in my previous video. You can check that out. I can put the link in the description. It just won't help you. Now we can talk about why counterattack is good for garrison and basic attack is good for rallies. For that, I have a realistic scenario set up over here where you can see I have my thunder in the garrison over here, and there are say 3 squads or 3 rallies that are going to hit him. So before we discuss this, let's discuss what happened in a basic one-on-one fight. We can add 2 things in our notes. One would be basic attack is launched only on one target and it is launched first. Secondly, counter attack only happens after a basic attack. So these 2 things should definitely keep a note on it. Now let's talk about siege rallies. Now if this is one rally hitting the garrison, it's gonna be same thing as a 1v1 fight where rally will first launch a basic attack, garrison will reply in counter attack, then garrison will do basic attack on rally, and then rally will do a counter attack. Now if we have multiple rallies hitting the garrison, we know that basic attack only happens on one target. If rally number 1 hit the garrison first, garrison is doing basic attack on this particular rally and rally is doing counter attack, but the other 2 rallies are just doing basic attack on the garrison. Garrison will reply in counter attack to these 2 rallies, but garrison will not launch any basic attack to rally number 2 and 3, which is the reason why having basic attack on garrison is not gonna be as helpful as having a counter attack on garrison, because counter attack will happen on all rallies, basic attack only on one rally. Same thing goes for rallies. Rally will do basic attack on garrison no matter it's first, second or third, but only first rally does counter attack on garrison because it is the only rally that receives a basic attack from garrison. So this is what I wanted to mention when we say certain hones are useful in certain situations. Another point I would like to make over here is specifically for Eddie. Now Eddie is famous for his counter attack, and if you have Eddie in your rally, make sure your rally hits the garrison first before any other rally, because since you are not receiving any basic attack from garrison, you are not launching counter attack to garrison. It will only affect any counter rally if somebody launches on him, otherwise nothing will happen. This concludes our which hones are useful for what situation. Now the last topic we can discuss is how much of the hones we should keep. To talk about it, we need to do a little bit of the buff breakdown and how it affects an actual combat. To see that, let's go to any of the combat log. I think this is one that we can see. In here you can see combat log, we'll see attack percentage, travel speed, etc. But main thing is this. How do we calculate this number? 10,000 troop and 392 troops. How does this come into picture? And this is going to be true for all battles that you come across, PvP or in any particular event. How does this happen? let's take an example of, say, infantry squad attack. I have 225.5% coming as a solid buff, and let's see randomly if we can take a particular hero. For, let's say, Miyamoto, we have 40% attack coming as a stat buff from this particular hero. I'm not including any other talent based increment, just this one, 40%. Now the formula to calculate what actual attack looks like for our Miyamoto squad will be, we'll have original stat plus increment we got from solid buff, then we add it with the increment we got from hero and the increment we get from our armaments. Let's pick any armament. Let's say this one. I have infantry squad attack 37.3%. Now with this, let's calculate the attack for our T6 squad. For T6 we have our original stat as 208 for attack, so it will be 208 plus 469 plus 208 times 0.4 for 40% attack from hero, and 208 times 0.373 from our armament gives us 839.9. Now let's say if we want to add a particular hone. So infantry squad attack max can go to 5% in this case. Let's say we add 5% infantry squad attack as a new hone attribute in one of the armaments. So it's gonna make our armament buff go from 37.3% to 42.3%, which will make our new attack number to 850.3. Now what is the actual addition that happened? You can see the difference between the attack before the new hone attribute and after, divided by whatever it was before the addition, multiply by 100 for the percentage, we'll get 1.238%. So even though we added 5% attack on our armament, we only got 1.238% increment on our actual attack coming from the squad. Now this was one thing to note. Let's add another thing to it. Say for example, if my armament infantry squad attack was 17.3% instead of 37.3%, let's reduce 20% right there. In this case our new number will be 798.304. Now same thing, add 5% attack hone as a new hone. The new attack percentage is 22.3%, so it will give us the new number to be 808.704. Now what is the actual increment? The difference between the after and before hone divided by what was before hone multiplied by 100, it will give us 1.302%. So you can see that as we increase a particular buff, any new addition to that buff, the actual gain we are getting is reducing. At 17.3%, adding 5% more attack will give me 1.3% gain, while at 37.3% I only gained 1.23%. So the more of a certain buff you add, the less of the actual increment you will gain when you take your squad out. Now that being said about solid stats, lethality and block might add more value after a certain point compared to just adding solid buffs, but I won't tell you what hones to keep. Since both attack and defense affects your battle, balancing the hone will increase your actual number to improve your battle report. Like, that's my recommendation, but it is really up to your playing styles. And with that, I think I did cover everything that I wanted to cover, and if you have any question, definitely reach out to me in the game or in the comment section. I'll try my best to answer my YouTube comments, but I will definitely answer your in-game questions. So with this, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video very soon.